She once joked that holding a baby felt like holding a sack of potatoes, saying she just threw the baby over her shoulder and laughed that together, the parents barely made one good parent. That kind of humor became familiar to fans, but behind the jokes and smiles, her life was far more complicated. Kaley Cuoco was living what looked like a perfect dream. Playing Penny on The Big Bang Theory turned her into one of the highest-paid actresses on television. Over the years, she earned more than $150 million and became a face recognized all over the world. From the outside, it seemed like nothing could touch her. But behind the cameras, something inside her was slowly wearing down. In 2022, she walked into her trailer on set and did something no one expected. She gathered the producers and spoke words that changed everything about her future. What followed revealed a much darker truth about her final years on the show and the emotional toll it took on her. Recent reports about how deeply it affected her have left many fans heartbroken. At that point, it was no longer about money or fame. It was about survival. Kaley Cuoco was born on November 30, 1985, in Camarillo, California, just about 50 miles from Los Angeles. That closeness to Hollywood quietly shaped her life long before she understood what the entertainment industry really was. Her father, Gary Cuoco, worked as a real estate agent, while her mother, Lane and Wingate, stayed home with the kids, bringing her English and German background into the family's everyday life. In many ways, her childhood felt normal. But Hollywood was always right there, close enough to reach out and grab her early. By the age of 6, Kaley had already appeared in front of a camera for the television movie Quicksand, No Escape, and was doing commercials whenever she had the chance. Auditions were easy to get because Los Angeles was nearby, and each small role pushed her closer to a future that would soon define her entire life. It was a gentle start, nothing dramatic, but it laid the foundation for a career that would later become impossible to ignore. Even before acting fully took over, her parents encouraged her to try everything. At just 3 years old, she picked up a tennis racket, and it quickly became a serious part of her life. She trained hard, entered junior tournaments, and kept improving. By the late 1990s, she ranked among the top amateur players in Southern California. In 1998, she finished the year ranked number 56 in girls 14 singles and number 12 in doubles. That was impressive, especially for a child who was also constantly running to auditions and film sets. She never stopped acting during this time. She moved between tennis courts and casting rooms without slowing down. That balance of sports and acting taught her discipline, focus, and emotional strength. Those qualities became a kind of quiet armor she would rely on later when Hollywood's pressure grew heavier. For a while, it looked like tennis might become her future. Coaches believed in her talent, and people around her thought she could go professional. She trained with that goal in mind and lived with the daily stress of competition. But acting kept pulling her back. Roles started coming in more frequently, and by 2002, when she was just 16, she was already busy with television work, including 8 Simple Rules. Slowly, then suddenly, she made a life-changing decision. In 2002, she stepped away from competitive tennis and chose acting as her future. Many people were surprised, but she knew where her heart felt strongest. That choice cleared the path that eventually led her to The Big Bang Theory and everything that followed. School was never easy for her. From a young age, she felt different from other kids. By 5th grade, she switched to homeschooling so she could keep up with auditions, filming, and tournaments. It gave her freedom, but it also isolated her. She finished high school at just 16 years old. While that sounds impressive, it came with a deep sense of loneliness. She never experienced a normal school life or blended in with classmates her own age. Still, that flexibility allowed her career to grow without limits. She could accept bigger roles without worrying about a regular school schedule. Throughout all of this, her family remained her anchor. Her father went with her to auditions. Her mother supported her decisions and reminded her to stay grounded and kind, even when the industry was harsh. Kaley kept the same agents, managers, and lawyers from the age of 15, something that almost never happens in Hollywood. Her younger sister, Brianna, eventually entered acting as well, turning the family into a close unit that helped her survive the chaos of early fame. That steady support made it easier for her to trust the path she was on. Kaylee began working professionally before she even turned 10. At 6 years old, she appeared in Quicksand, No Escape as Connie Reinhardt, acting alongside Tim Matheson and Donald Sutherland. The movie was released on March 4, 1992, and gave her a glimpse into the world she would spend her entire life in. In 1995, she appeared in the science fiction film Versatility, released on August 4, working with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. It was her film debut, and even though the role was small, it mattered because she was sharing the screen with major stars. In 1997, she appeared briefly in Picture Perfect with Jennifer Aniston, her name listed near the end of the credits, but it was still another sign that Hollywood was paying attention. These early roles added up quickly, each one moving her a little higher. Throughout the 1990s, her face became familiar on television. She played Miranda on Northern Exposure around the age of 7. She appeared as young Angela in My So-Called Life in 1994. In 1995, she played a young version of Ellen DeGeneres in the famous Puppy episode of Ellen, one of the most memorable moments in TV history. She also appeared on Don't Forget Your Toothbrush. One guest role followed another, filling her schedule. She studied, auditioned, filmed, and tried to feel normal while living a life nothing like other kids her age. By the end of the decade, she had already built a long list of credits, a grind few people outside the industry truly understand. From the beginning, casting directors often saw her as the cute blonde side character. She played sweet daughters, innocent kids, and adorable young girls. That image followed her for years. Cute, pretty, light-hearted, sometimes a little silly. When she was cast as Penny on The Big Bang Theory in 2007, it almost felt like a continuation of that same image. Breaking free from it took far more time and effort than most people realized. Before that breakthrough, she moved into teen television. Disney Channel roles came quickly. She starred in Toothless in 1997 and Alley Cat's Strike in 2000, a bowling-themed movie that became a cult favorite among kids. In 2000, she also played Maureen McCormick in Growing Up Brady. These roles made her familiar to young audiences and showed she could carry a TV movie without relying only on the cute blonde stereotype. By the early 2000s, she was recognizable but still waiting for a role that would truly define her. Working from such a young age came with emotional costs. She missed out on normal teenage experiences. She often felt like an outsider because she was always on set or traveling. She later spoke about how difficult it felt to be almost famous for so long, constantly working but never quite reaching the top. The pressure, expectations, and uncertainty followed her into adulthood. Then came her first major breakthrough. In September 2002, at just 17, she landed the role of Bridget Hennessy on 8 Simple Rules. The show premiered to over 17 million viewers and became one of the biggest sitcom debuts of the year. Kaylee played the bold and funny teenage daughter of John Ritter's character. Her comedic timing and chemistry with Ritter immediately stood out. Almost overnight, she went from steady work to real stardom. It felt like everything was finally coming together. But tragedy struck suddenly. On September 11, 2003, during filming, John Ritter collapsed and later died from an undiagnosed aortic dissection at age 54. Doctors initially believed he was having a heart attack, and the treatment made things worse. He passed away within hours. The shock devastated the cast. Filming stopped, and the show chose to address his death within the storyline. Grief from real life blended with grief on screen. Kaylee later said this moment taught her how fragile life is and how quickly everything can change in the industry. The show struggled afterward. Ratings dropped, and even with new cast members, the energy was never the same. When 8 Simple Rules ended in 2005, Kaylee refused to disappear. She joined the final season of Charmed as Billie Jenkins, a young witch. The role wasn't huge, but it kept her visible and allowed her to explore a new genre. Still, doubts followed her. She wondered if her biggest chance had already passed. But she kept pushing forward. That persistence paid off in 2007 when she stepped into the role of Penny on The Big Bang Theory. Interestingly, the character wasn't always Penny. In the original version, the neighbor was named Katie, played by Amanda Walsh, and she was harsh and unkind. Test audiences didn't connect with her at all. The creators realized they needed change. They rewrote the character, softened her personality, and created Penny, a warm, hopeful woman from Nebraska with big dreams. Kaylee was hesitant at first, but once she saw the changes, she accepted the role. That decision changed her life forever. Her work on 8 Simple Rules and later on Charmed proved that she had real charm and strong comedic timing. She was not just a supporting character anymore. When The Big Bang Theory found its footing, she slowly became the emotional center of that small apartment building, and viewers could feel it. Penny was the heart of the show in many ways, and audiences connected with her immediately. In the beginning, her salary was simple and modest compared to what would come later. For the first 3 seasons, from 2007 to 2009, she earned around $60,000 per episode. Over 63 episodes, that added up to roughly $3.78 million. Johnny Galecki and Jim Parsons earned the same amount at the time. It was good money, especially for a sitcom that was still finding its audience, but it was nothing compared to what waited ahead. Once the show reached season 4, everything changed. The cast renegotiated their contracts, and her pay jumped to about $200,000 per episode. With each new season, the number continued to rise, reflecting both the massive growth of the audience and how smart the cast was about protecting their future. During those early years, the show truly found its rhythm. The first 2 seasons felt smaller and more niche, appealing mostly to a specific audience. But by season 3 in 2009, viewership exploded past 15 million people per week. The reason was simple. The chemistry between Penny, Leonard, and Sheldon felt fresh and real. Viewers were drawn into their world and didn't want to leave. Penny and Leonard's slow, awkward, and often funny relationship kept people emotionally invested. Sheldon and Penny's unusual friendship became one of the show's highlights. Their opposite personalities created moments that fans talked about long after episodes aired. That growing bond between characters transformed the show from a quiet comedy into a ratings powerhouse. What most viewers did not know at the time was that there was a secret behind the scenes that made the chemistry even stronger. From 2008 to 2009, Kaylee Cuoco and Johnny Galecki were quietly dating in real life. They kept it so private that even some crew members had no idea. Kaylee later admitted that she liked Johnny from the very beginning. Scenes like the Nerdvana Annihilation episode brought them even closer. At one point, they even talked seriously about marriage. When they decided to end their relationship in 2009, they remained close friends and continued working together professionally. That hidden chapter helped explain why their on-screen connection felt so natural. Fans sensed the depth of their bond long before the truth became public. As the show continued to grow, money changed everything again. At the very start, Kaylee had earned only about $45,000 per episode. By season 2, her pay had already increased significantly. Her contract before season 4 included something rare in television, an automatic raise of $50,000 each year. That meant her earnings rose season after season without needing constant renegotiation. By the time she entered season 5, she was already earning far more than most sitcom actors ever would. From seasons 5 through 7, her salary climbed steadily from $250,000 to $300,000, and then to $350,000 per episode. Over those 3 seasons alone, she earned around $25.2 million. On top of that, she also received a percentage of the show's syndication profits, which added millions more over time. Very few actresses in the world were earning that kind of money from television. She had officially become one of the most powerful figures on TV. Then came the deal that made history. By season 8 in 2014, Kaylee Cuoco, Jim Parsons, and Johnny Galecki signed contracts paying them $1 million per episode. No sitcom cast had ever reached that level before. The deal covered 72 episodes across seasons 8, 9, and 10, earning her about $72 million just from those seasons. In addition, she received 1% of the show's back-end profits. In the first year alone, that added another $10 million to her income. By 2020, her net worth passed $100 million, placing her among the richest actors in television history. Despite all of that success, she surprised everyone during the final stretch of the show. For seasons 11 and 12, from 2017 to 2019, she agreed to take a pay cut of $100,000 per episode. She did this so that Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch could receive raises up to $500,000 per episode. In total, Kaylee gave up around $4.8 million. She later explained that she never wanted her coworkers to feel undervalued or less important. That decision made headlines across Hollywood because generosity like that is rare in such a competitive industry. By 2022, her net worth was estimated at around $110 million. Her total earnings from The Big Bang Theory alone reached approximately $149 million. The rest of her wealth came from endorsement deals like Priceline and from new projects she took on after the series ended. Her rise from a hard-working child actress to one of the wealthiest women in television became a story people still talk about with admiration. But all of that success nearly disappeared in a single terrifying moment. In September 2010, she went horseback riding at a ranch in Los Angeles. She loved riding horses and felt comfortable and safe doing it. That day, however, everything went wrong. The horse became startled and threw her off. As she hit the ground, the horse tried to jump over her and instead landed directly on her left leg. The impact was devastating. Her tibia and fibula broke with such force that paramedics could not remove her boot for more than 5 minutes. She later described the feeling as falling onto a pile of leaves and instantly knowing that something was terribly wrong. At the hospital, doctors were faced with a frightening situation. The fractures were open and severe, and there was a serious risk of infection spreading quickly. For a brief but terrifying moment, amputation became a real possibility. That accident forced her to confront how fragile everything truly was, reminding her that even at the height of fame and fortune, life can change in an instant. Kaylee Cuoco's time on 8 Simple Rules and Charmed proved that she could carry both charm and comedic timing, showing that she was capable of more than just supporting roles. Slowly, she became the heart of her small apartment building on screen, and audiences felt it too. In those early years on The Big Bang Theory, her pay was modest. For the first 3 seasons, from 2007 to 2009, she earned about $60,000 per episode, totaling roughly $3.78 million for 63 episodes. Johnny Galecki and Jim Parsons earned the same. It was good money, but nothing like what was coming. Once the show reached season 4, she renegotiated her contract, and her salary jumped to $200,000 per episode. With each season, her pay increased, reflecting the show's rapidly growing popularity and the cast's savvy in securing their financial future. The show found its rhythm during these years. The first 2 seasons were smaller and more niche, but by season 3 in 2009, it had grown to over 15 million viewers per week. The chemistry between Penny, Leonard, and Sheldon felt fresh and real. Penny and Leonard's slow, awkward, funny relationship kept people invested, while Sheldon and Penny's unusual friendship created moments that viewers talked about for weeks. Their growing bond turned a small sitcom into a ratings giant. Behind the scenes, Kaylee and Johnny Galecki had their own secret. They dated quietly from 2008 to 2009. They were careful to keep it hidden so that even some crew members had no idea. Kaylee admitted that she had liked him from the start, and certain scenes brought them closer together. At one point, they even discussed marriage. Although they ended their relationship in 2009, they stayed close friends. That real-life connection made their on-screen chemistry feel authentic, and fans could sense it even before knowing the truth. As the show's success exploded, her earnings grew too. At first, she had earned only about $45,000 per episode, but by season 2, it had risen to $200,000. Her contract included a rare automatic raise of $50,000 each season, which meant her salary increased on its own without renegotiation. By season 5, she was earning far beyond most sitcom actors. Seasons 5 through 7 saw her pay climb from $250,000 to $300,000, and then $350,000 per episode. Over those 3 seasons, she earned roughly $25.2 million, plus a percentage of syndication profits, adding even more to her income. Only a few actresses in the world were earning that kind of money. She had become a major force in television. By season 8 in 2014, she, Jim Parsons, and Johnny Galecki signed a groundbreaking deal for $1 million per episode. The contract covered 72 episodes across seasons 8, 9, and 10, bringing her around $72 million. On top of that, she earned 1% of the show's back-end profits, adding roughly $10 million in the first year. By 2020, her net worth surpassed $100 million, placing her among television's wealthiest stars. Even then, she surprised people by taking a pay cut of $100,000 per episode during seasons 11 and 12 to help Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch reach $500,000 per episode. In total, she gave up about $4.8 million, showing a generosity rare in Hollywood. By 2022, her net worth was estimated at around $110 million, with total earnings from the show reaching roughly $149 million. Additional partnerships, like Priceline, and projects after the series ended, added to her fortune. Her career and success might have ended abruptly in 2010, when a horseback riding accident nearly changed everything. She loved horses and felt comfortable riding, but that day, her horse got spooked and threw her off. The horse landed on her left leg, snapping both her tibia and fibula. Paramedics struggled to remove her boot for over 5 minutes. She later described the moment as falling onto a pile of leaves and immediately knowing something terrible had happened. At the hospital, doctors faced a dire situation. Her fractures were open and severe, with infection spreading quickly, and amputation was even a possibility. Chuck Lorre later said it was the darkest moment he had seen in all 12 years of the show. Kaylee signed a waiver allowing doctors to remove her leg if necessary, calling it one of the scariest moments of her life. Dr. Stephen Lombardo and his team worked quickly, saving her leg but warning she might never walk the same again. She underwent 2 major surgeries, one to clean the wound and leave it open for several days, and another to insert 2 metal rods that remain in her leg. She stayed in a cast and then a boot. Doctors predicted months before she would walk again, but within a week, she was already taking steps. The pain was intense, the therapy grueling, but she pushed through. She missed 2 episodes at the start of season 4 and returned to set while still healing. The show cleverly used camera angles, props, and seated scenes to keep her mostly still. What viewers never saw was the emotional burden she carried, going from full strength to barely walking, facing the possibility of losing her leg, and seeing her career hang by a thread. She later said those scars made her feel strong, like she survived something that could have broken her, teaching her to value her body differently, slow down, and recognize life's fragility. When The Big Bang Theory ended, she did not stop. In October 2017, she created Yes Norman Productions, naming it after her dog Norman, the one constant in her life. This step opened doors. A multi-year first-look deal with Warner Brothers Television gave her creative freedom she had never experienced. She moved beyond sitcoms, shaping scripts, casting, editing, and producing. Beverly Hills became the base for her company, a space that welcomed different kinds of stories. Shows like Harley Quinn and The Flight Attendant emerged from that space. The work was new and intimidating, but it was hers, and the industry began to take notice. When The Flight Attendant premiered in November 2020, it pulled over 4.5 million viewers, and the response was overwhelming. People praised her performance as Cassie Bowden, a woman caught in a murder mystery while struggling with her own life. Style, tension, bold choices, awards, and nominations followed. For the first time, Kaylee carried a show as both star and executive producer. The pressure was immense, choosing casts, overseeing edits, shaping the story, and performing in front of the camera every day, but she persisted, proving she could survive and thrive beyond her previous image. Her work on Harley Quinn began in November 2019, voicing the character with the wild energy required. She also helped shape the show behind the scenes. When it moved to HBO Max in 2020, it allowed her to explore more genres and showed she was not confined to one type of role. Slowly, she built a reputation for versatility, handling comedy, drama, animation, and more. For those who had only known her as Penny, it was surprising. For her, it felt natural. Financial security from The Big Bang Theory, where she earned over $150 million in base salary and $900,000 per episode by season 11, gave her freedom to experiment, start her production company, and pursue risky projects without fear of losing everything. She finally understood that security could open doors in a way talent alone could not. Her personal life, however, was more turbulent. She married Ryan Sweeting in December 2013, just months after meeting and getting engaged, but they divorced in May 2016. She later said the experience taught her about herself and what she would no longer accept. She married Carl Cook in June 2018 after getting engaged on her 32nd birthday, but they split in September 2021, with the divorce finalized in June 2022. That breakup hit her deeply, sending her into a dark spiral. Living together for only a year, they couldn't make it work, leaving her emotionally empty and exhausted. While filming season 2 of The Flight Attendant, the stress manifested physically. She developed a rash and severe joint pain, forcing her to sit during filming. Her co-star Zosia Mamet moved in to help, highlighting how emotional pain can physically affect the body. Eventually, Kaylee had a self-intervention, admitting to her producers that she needed help. For the first time, she fully embraced therapy, allowing herself to cry, receive support, and speak openly about mental health, hoping to make it easier for others to seek help too. In early 2022, she met Tom Pelphrey through their mutual manager. She described it as love at first sight. By May, they shared glimpses of their happiness on social media. On March 30, 2023, they welcomed their daughter, Matilda Carmine Ritchie Pelphrey, marking another transformation in her life. Motherhood brought joy, pauses, and challenges, including wrist inflammation from holding her baby. She shared her experiences online, helping other new mothers feel understood. Emotionally, she still faced anxiety, mood swings, and panic attacks, but therapy, support from Tom, and her own resilience helped her find balance. By late 2025, she turned 40, celebrating with family and friends, including Tom, who had proposed the previous year. Her net worth reached around $110 million, thanks to earnings from The Big Bang Theory, endorsements, and her production company. She bought a 40-acre horse ranch in a Hidden Hills mansion, selling it for a profit later. On the surface, her life looked perfect, but she continued learning to navigate heartbreak, stress, and expectations. The internet often amplified her struggles, twisting moments from her life into viral content, but she remained committed to honesty. Though she had experienced painful divorces, she still believed in love. Meeting Tom Pelphrey showed her hope could endure beyond trauma, even if she no longer believed in traditional vows. Once typecast as a dumb blonde and defined by Penny, she had transformed into a respected producer and actress, demonstrating range, grit, and a voice entirely her own. She overcame the image Hollywood imposed and built a life that continues to surprise everyone.